I'd like to take you on a journey of empowering change, restoring communities. That's our vision statement, but it's also our passion to see communities restored and changed through bringing hope to people that feel hopeless. We want to bring hope to them and help make a world of difference in their lives. You can be involved by donating funds or gifts in kind. What we really need is not just the one-off donations, but we need people to give regularly. This enables us to be able to manage our programs, to budget them and organically grow through sustainable. Many people giving $5 for going a coffee, for getting their cappuccinos, every week giving $5 will make a massive difference to the lives of the people. You can also be involved by going. We have mission trips, humanitarian trips that go to the Philippines and other countries, make a difference in those communities. So I encourage you to be a part of those teams, whether you have a skill or not. We can have tradespeople, nurses, doctors, but also anybody that can go and make a difference and bring hope will be a big part of the change we need. And what if you can't go or give? I encourage you right now to become an advocate. We are needing advocates who will not only share our pages and have birthday fundraisers, but also to be able to have fundraisers themselves and help raise money for the cause and advocate on behalf of the people that are struggling. Thank you very much in advance for your help. And let's all together empower, change and restore communities. God bless you heaps, guys. I appreciate you all.
Hello, I'm Glenda Hare and welcome to 5 Q&A. A special welcome to all of our Facebook friends and supporters from all around the world. As we go live, we also open up the opportunity for you to ask questions. You can do so online at any time, and our team, they will take your messages, and towards the end of the segment, we'll see if we can answer some of them for you. You know, a 2014 UNICEF report revealed that an estimated 25,000 people, including 3,000 children, are living with HIV in Papua New Guinea. The majority of these children acquire the HIV infection from their mothers during pregnancy, labour or delivery, and or through breastfeeding. Not only is this a medical crisis, but it offers significant challenges on a cultural front. Children are impacted by HIV either by being infected, having family members infected, are often neglected and even orphaned or abandoned. People are ostracized and become isolated from their social groups and social support networks. People are often inconsistent with the management of their illness, which seriously impacts their community for sustaining a relatively normal life. Pregnant mothers without care and support increase the risk of passing the HIV virus onto their unborn child, for further perpetuating the unfortunate cycle. And communities are fearful of HIV. They don't understand the true impact of this condition, and they don't know the positive advances made in management of risk. Papua New Guinea and associated social support groups are currently challenged in dealing with the issues surrounding the welfare and ongoing support for communities in PNG. I Care For You supports the National HIV/AIDS strategy, particularly in the priority area of counselling, testing, treatment, care and support. Tonight's guests, George and Crystal Nita, co-founders of I Care For You, are determined to make a difference by supporting and improving the quality of life for those individuals who are marginalised and living with the effects of HIV. So from Port Moresby in PNG, welcome George and Crystal. It's great to have you here with us tonight. Say hi to everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, great. As we go forward, just firstly, tell us a little bit just about yourselves, how you got started with I Care For You. You know, what was the catalyst that actually birthed this, the work that you're doing?
You should, because it's your dream.
Well, we first started talking about I Care For You when we first got introduced to each other, because I had the vision and the dream, and really it was just an idea. Again, that vision and dream wasn't doing anything really practical at that time. But Crystal over here was actually in Thailand, working at a HIV children's home. I mean, everything I was dreaming, she was already doing it. I was just thinking and dreaming. But then when we got together after we got introduced by a friend of mine, you want to talk about how we met? Because I think it gets too
He'll
messy.
get carried away with the story of how we met instead of I Care For You. But mainly how the dream came about was really his heart and passion for his nation, for Papua New Guinea. He was living outside of Papua New Guinea at the time. And he really, when he had come back and visited, he saw children begging on the streets. He saw his own immediate family and extended family and those around him, affected by HIV in one way or another. And he just felt really challenged. Like, am I going to sit here and do nothing, or am I going to make a difference? Am I going to, if I can make a difference to one person, that's a difference. And that's part of the whole vision. How I Care For You was dreamt up, really, was where I care for you, every life matters. So if we can at least help change one person's life for the better, then that's making a difference, and it's worth fighting for that one person. So, and
really it came from a place where we don't really, if somebody is HIV affected, we don't broadcast it, we don't talk about it, we just keep it, just ash. And I have lost a few family members, my cousins, a few cousins back in the village, and that made me realize we need to do something about this, because we all are affected by this in one way or the other. So just really, we wanted to create an environment where women especially, I mean, this is an epidemic that is affecting both men and women, but God specifically called us to go after women because they're the most vulnerable and the most marginalized, because PNG really it's a macho, it's a man culture, and women really, sadly, we've not really given them the place in society that they deserve, but it's coming now. Now women are taking the stand. But we really got impressed on our heart to go after the women and the children, the most vulnerable, people group in PNG, and that's go ahead.
Well, that's how I Care For You came about, was really just, the heart behind PNG and how to make a difference. How do we work towards making a difference? And the name really resonated in a time of worship that George and our other co-founder, Adam Atherton, had a time of worship together, and they really felt like God spoke the name I Care For You to them in particular. And so that's...
Wow. Well, that's awesome. Awesome. I love this. I love hearing the stories behind, what people are doing. It's, it's great testimony, and it's really encouraging. And it was interesting. You were saying that Crystal, you were working in Thailand with HIV orphans, and
wow. I never had thought that I would, like, if you had asked me at 18 when I finished school, or even in my early 20s, I was actually doing my nursing training, that I was going to end up where we are now. I wouldn't have expected it. I don't know how I think it was just little steps as I was obedient to what I felt was the next thing for me to do. You know, God just led me down this path. So like even how I ended up in Thailand was my grandmother was actually supporting one of the Thai staff at this children's home, which is a YWAM children's home, Youth with a Mission. And she started telling me about it, and I was doing my nursing training at the time, and then I started getting interested, and then I was asking them questions, and I said, do you need a nurse? And as soon as I said that, they were like, we've been praying for a nurse, you can come right away. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I, finished up my training and worked in Australia for a little bit, and then headed over to Thailand, firstly for 6 months. And then after I had come back and was in Australia for about a 2-year period where I was continuing my nursing, just keeping up my skills, I really felt that I needed to go back and I needed to make a more long-term commitment. So I'd gone back for a following 2 years working specifically with the children, but they also had the women's side of that care that they offered, really to help, again, similar kind of concept of helping these women take back their lives. And they came from very poor, marginalized environments where some of them didn't have any papers, they didn't have any identity of where they came from. So it was really like, working with them to help them to really get their life back. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, it kind of answers part of the next question was, what is the purpose of eye care for you? So we know what that is. So the second part of that question is, what services do you actually provide and who to? I know you've said to mothers, but maybe you can tell us a bit about, where you are, what it's like for you there in the community, and where do you find? Do they come to you, or do you find them?
Yeah, well, I can go on a little bit more about what we do. We actually have 3 different areas that we like to focus on. And again, we're in the early days of pioneering. I feel like we're about 4 years out, but we're still like getting ourselves positioned so we can run a live-in women's program, specifically for HIV women, mainly to give them full education around HIV and how they can take control of their life, and not the other way around, that it's not a death sentence like they imagined it, or have been told it was, or that it used to be, that they can, when they take care of their bodies, when they stay on their treatment, and when they have purpose, their lives can be long and fulfilling. They don't have to just go home and die. So work on that part of it. A lot of that program also will revolve around discipling them. It'll be a live-in. They can live here for 3 months with us, and we'll use that time to be really intentional and really approach helping them from like a holistic care kind of point of view. Also offering them counseling and then life skills of some sort, like, even if it was just developing some sort of a hobby that they like to do, or it might be sewing, it might be literacy, computer skills, gardening, cooking, a skill that they can then take home and help support themselves and their families back in their community. And to also help them have somebody within their community will help take care of them. So at least, because it's a big thing to try and get the whole community to embrace them and accept them back. But if they can at least share with one person their position, usually they're isolated, so everybody tends to know anyway at that point. But get one person who's willing to step up and support them and help them, so that they're not alone, they're not isolated completely. So helping address that stigma with the communities, and we recognize it's going to take a long time to address those things. Another way we want to work, the second area that we do a lot of work in is community through local high schools and churches. And that's, we utilize, before COVID, a lot of short-term mission teams that come through YWAM. We actually have a team staying with us at the moment, but they're local to Papua New Guinea. They have a few international students, but majority of them are Papua New Guinean, which is wonderful. So bringing awareness and prevention into the local high schools and addressing, like, they don't have, so they don't have sex ed classes. It's, it's big taboo. You don't talk about that. But the amount of young girls who are ending up HIV, pregnant, or, the amount of STIs that are going around. It's like, if we're not talking about this, but we're ignoring what's actually really happening, and how do we help address that? So ideally working through the local high schools to help bring awareness and prevention to that younger generation, so that we can help prevent future cases. And then also local churches. So helping the church take ownership for their people, so that they can, they don't have to come to us. They have a community that's willing to support them with, so again, that's going to take some time, because really trying to address it with the church when they really, a lot of the times it's the church that ostracizes them, that cast them out, so just addressing that. So that's the second area that iCareFU aims to work in. And then the last area is children and welfare. So, and this category also doesn't just fit directly under HIV. We want to, we're community volunteers with the welfare department to place abandoned, orphaned, or unwanted children, whether they're affected by HIV or not, into loving families. So at the moment, if a baby's been abandoned, they potentially can sit in the hospital for up to 6 months. We currently are in the transition of having a little girl in our care who was in there for 1 year. Purely, she was up for adoption, but because of some other health concerns, and people usually want a healthy baby, she was just left there with nowhere else to go. And so is she just going to stay there and, get very minimal care? So anyway, long story short, she's come into our care temporarily, and she has a new mum. And so, yeah, we're just transitioning her out now. Very happy ending, happy beginning for them. So that's that children and welfare side of things. So that kind of, I think that answers your question, like.
And that's all it was. You pretty much sum it up. Yeah,
like you asked, what do we do? Well, currently, because we don't have our program running, we are, and then with COVID as well, we're just starting to prepare to do a smaller version of support, a women's hope group, we call it. So it'll be done like every fortnight, women come to us, and then we offer on a smaller scale that support the counselling, and then we might do something in the afternoon, like we might do a sewing class together, or a cooking class, or we might just, paint nails, or do something that's light, make some cards or some jewelry, or things that will help them to just relax and find a safe, make some earrings, like them. Exactly. I need to learn then so I can teach them. Yes. Sorry.
No, that is great. That is great. I've actually got a question, but I'll ask that later on, because it's not one of the.
That's all right. We also do care packs that go to the local hospital. Yeah. So we at the moment have been trying to network and strengthen our relationship with the general hospital here through their it's parent to child transmission of HIV. So pretty much when a lady is pregnant and she goes for like all of her checkups, at the very first checkup they get, they will have a HIV test. Yeah. And if it comes back positive, then they will come through the PPTC program, which then they are monitored, their blood levels, like their CD4 and their HIV load is monitored, so that they can stay on the correct treatment, and so that the hospital can work with them closely to make sure they stay on treatment, which will then help to decrease that chance of the baby being HIV positive. So we give care packs mainly as a way to network and let them know what we want to offer, because when we do run our live-in program, it'll be through referral. Like it'll have to come from either other organizations that are doing counseling, testing and counseling, and maybe those women have fallen through their programs, and this is like a way that we can help catch those women up and give them that little bit extra support, or through the local hospitals and other local testing centers. So that way, otherwise potentially it could be everyone coming and saying, you know, we need a free place to live, you know, pretty much. So we've just got to be careful. It'll be through referral.
We don't have the capacity
Yeah.
for that.
Yes.
Well, there's the next question. What is the capacity that you currently have where you are?
So we are
if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah. We are in phase 2 of our development. So phase 1 was literally building the house that we're living in, which that and office space, which is a larger building that has office, a training room, and a small one bedroom accommodation available. So that's all we have through phase 1. Phase 2 now is coming up to our women's housing and kitchen, dining hall, and women's bathroom block. So once we get those things established, then we can start having women live on our property. So at the moment, we don't have the capacity to house women. We have staff living on our property. So we have 2 ladies. One of them is positive, one of our staff, and she, HIV positive. And I'm sharing that with you because she is open and okay with us to share her status. She's quite vocal and a great advocate for other women living with HIV. So her and another one of our staff live on our little base here, and another male staff that works alongside with George, working on the grounds and property development kind of things. And then it's our family. We're the direct ones that live.
You're on base.
Yes.
Well,
so
that brings us, of course, to. Whoops.
So I was just going to say, so we actually have 1.3 acre that's all completely fenced in. That has a plan to develop so that we can be able to offer this place as a place where we can safely house women and offer upskilling, training, and send out from.
Awesome. Well, that actually brings us to the next question, because last year, with the support of a generous donor, we were able to send you a shipping container. And tell us a little bit about the shipping container, because it's just no ordinary shipping container, was it?
Oh no, this is a tiny home. With that shipping container came from Brisbane already, decked out by thanks to the guys in Brisbane with New Life Restoration and just the foundation, and Russell. Thanks to Russell, who really pulled a lot of weight and stream, because he knows everyone. And so just being able to make the phone call and getting the electrician on a one phone call, there was the electrician, and then there was somebody else, welder, there was somebody else. And so we got that 20-foot shipping container all completely ready, because we knew that as soon as it hit PNG, we could use it right away. And like right now, it's the best small tiny home accommodation. We have a volunteer from the US living there right now. She's been with us for 3 months, or will be. But yeah, that's great. But when it came with everything else we need at that time. So we had with the stuff that was in the container, the donated items, we were able to finish our office.
Put in fans and other building things in the unfinished building, which is now closer to being finished.
Yeah, so there was, and just again through Russell and ourselves, we knew, well, we have families down there as well. So, and our home church in Brisbane, just getting the word out that we have a shipping container. All we need is your stuff. Bring your donation, and let's bring it to PNG. And lots of things came from that way, and we brought it up here and been able to be utilized in a great way. So we're able to. It's a win-win. We got the stuff, and we have the shipping container. Yeah,
you have a room.
It also came with a free air conditioner.
Yes.
So they fit that in, because really, I mean, it's stinking hot here all year round.
Yes.
So it'd be a hot box if it didn't have.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was literally we got it here with all the insulated walls in and all the electrical done. We just had someone cut out the holes, put windows in that we'd already purchased in Australia, and a sliding door, and put the AC in, and like literally in a few days it was working and running, and yeah, so it was amazing.
That is awesome. I actually I did see a little bit of video footage of that container arriving. It was a bit of an interesting day, I believe, the day that was coming. Tell me a little bit about the arrival of the shipping container. The sun was not shining a lot that day, was it?
No,
We found that for most things, as soon as we start, it rains. Like when we dug the foundations for this, it rained for a whole month, and all of the holes filled up with water, so we had to wait. And
the
sure enough,
container, it was fine.
No rain
for a long time. And when the container came, it started raining. And when it rains here, this place is horrible. I mean, it's terrible and horrible when it rains. It's just bad. So we had an 18-wheeler that came in with the shipping container getting all bogged down.
But it actually was quite amazing, though, because it did stop raining for the time that they were taking it off the truck and placing it on the foundations. And then as soon as they placed it on the foundations, it started raining again. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah, I love things like that. That's when you know God's smiling on what you're doing, isn't it? Just those little moments. You know, no ministry or community support program survives on fresh air. So my next question is, where do you get your support from? There's so many things. I started listing down some of the things that you're wanting to do, the things you're wanting to do. It all takes resources, you know, practical resources as well as financial resources, spiritual resources. George, you mentioned, you know, you've got a church in Australia, you know, back here, which you know, who are obviously covering you in prayer and supporting you, but you know, I guess the question is, what are your greatest needs, and how can those that are listening tonight,
Sound's gone bad.
Can you hear us?
Oh, you're back? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, it
got distorted for a while. Your face is frozen.
Okay. So basically asking, so you. I think the internet is playing up. But if we can still hear each other, we'll just keep talking.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you hear us?
Yes. Just. Adrian.
I don't think you can.
Okay. So
I think there's a big delay as well.
okay, you know.
Yeah, because that's just, she's on froze.
She has her own freeze.
Yes. I've just sent. Yeah, we were doing really well there for a minute.
Yeah, we were. I mean, we're
Adrian's
connected.
frozen. We've all frozen. Dear.
One of our vision for our people with disability projects is to create sources of income for them and for their immediate families. So last week, We have started our sewing livelihood for the people with disability in Burgos, Rodriguez, Rizal. We have purchased 2 sewing machines and rolls of fabrics to start with. And these fabrics will be sewn into curtains, bed sheets, throw pillows, face masks, bandanas, and garments, and more. There are 7 seamstresses who has disability or who has a family member with disability. So they will be our initial beneficiaries in this project, and they are very excited and very happy and very appreciative about this project because this will help them with their basic needs. And we are hoping to include more and more people with disability in the day-to-day operation of this project, from cutting, from sewing, to selling and marketing. We are hoping to purchase more sewing machine and materials so we could include more beneficiaries to give them the chance or give them the dignity of working. So that is the real change that you have created out of your generosity. Thank you very much, Pastor Lowy, Pastor Hans Bob, and the wonderful people at Life Church in Germany. The sewing livelihood will create jobs for the people with disability, and not only that, this will also create a loving and inclusive community where anyone's disability does not determine their capacity, where people with disability and non-PWDs will grow together and empower each other. Through your generosity, our vision is becoming a reality. Ich danke Ihnen, sir, and God segne dich. Thank you and God bless you.
women's toilet block, and then the last part of that phase, or which we will develop hopefully towards, I'll just include it in, is our kitchen and dining hall, so that we can start our women's program. So that the housing, we're keeping the housing for the women really simple because they're coming from settlement areas, from rural settings where they live very basic. And so we want to keep to that model, but obviously build it a nice home for them. And then we will have, we'll actually have 2 women's housing that can we'll have 4 rooms per house that can house potentially up to 20 women within those 2 homes. So like a dormitory style home with a bathroom between the 2 houses that's got 2 bathrooms and 2 showers. The kitchen will be like a commercial kitchen so that we can use it both for cooking for the whole of the compound, but also for like teaching cooking classes and whatever we need to. And the hall will be for eating, but also another space that we can use for training or conferences or anything we need that's literally out of the sun, because as soon as you walk out of a building, you're literally in hot heat, Port Moresby heat. So everything is raised basically word of mouth. Like we share the vision and people can choose to invest into that. And we just track with them along the way and let them know what the funding is going towards, and can also show progress of those buildings and what's actually happening. And then to the point of showing you the women and the programs that are being run once they're up and running. We usually in the past have also been been able to do international travel, connecting with our home churches, both in the States, in America, and also in Australia. And then also connecting through different business houses. We don't have any government support in PNG yet. I feel like we're just maybe in another couple of years when we have a little bit more recognition for what we're trying to do, we may get some funding. But at the moment, just with how things are, they make a lot of promises for funding to everybody else, and they don't even pay their hospitals and their welfare departments and everywhere else. So we just look for other means in which we can bring in.
But most people here think that we are well funded, government funded, because since we are, our vision is right against Papua New Guinea government's vision to fight HIV and PNG. So, I mean, we get lots of money coming in from outside international donors, just injecting money into PNG to fight HIV/AIDS.
Not us personally.
To the government.
Government, PNG government.
So they think the assumption is we get a big chunk of that, but we don't. We don't get any funding. And like Crystal said, we're fairly new. So as soon as we gain some traction over the next year, hopefully sooner, we can get some funding that way. But it is purely through it. It's a ministry. God sustains this. That's how money comes in, through word of mouth, and then through our churches. And people really would just write to us and say, I felt led from God to give you this,
Or people just in their own faith journey have said, look, I want to give this seed money invested into you because I believe in your vision and what you are called to do. And they've just given that way. So. And
that's how that money becomes, the 3 loaves and the 2 fish, and God multiplies, whatever small that comes in, and this, because for us we're right along the government's agenda to fight HIV, but for us this is where God's hands and feet. This is ministry first for us. Yeah. So in that way, I think we've seen the hand of God in huge way. So it keeps us really focused and humble, knowing that God's called us to do this. So
yeah. So every bit of support makes a difference. Yes.
Definitely.
Guys, I really, really want to thank you for coming in and joining us tonight. I'm sorry about the internet. I think, oh look, there's Puss. One of the family members has joined us. I apologize to those viewing too for the internet interruptions. But that's the joy of our IT technology in this day and age. But thank you guys so much for being with us tonight, and thank you for everything that you're doing for those women and the children and the community in Papua New Guinea. And we will continue to pray for you, and praying I know makes a difference. Prayer makes a difference, but so does practical help. And so for those that are listening in, if you wish to play a part in making a difference in the life of a child or a parent suffering from HIV/AIDS, you can. I know that Create the Change Australasia, we would love to donate another one of those containers. We'd love to donate heaps of containers, but let's start with 1 and go to 2 and go to 3, and get some more of those tiny homes happening on your property. So we would love to donate another one filled to capacity with goods and fitted out and prepared for unloading. But listeners, we need your help. We can't do this alone. We're all in this together. So by following the links below, you'll see opportunities and ways that you can give. Kathy Kelvin says giving's not just about making a donation, it's about making a difference. And like you guys said, everyone matters. And so making the difference for the one. And so folks out there in IT land, you can make a difference today by just following the links. And we will thank you in advance. George and Crystal, I know, thank you in advance. Now, I need to ask my team were there any questions. And I know I wrote down a question, and you did answer it a little bit, but with the COVID, first of all, what restrictions are you actually currently under? What's it like where you are?
It's a tricky one. I feel like they put restrictions in place, but it's really just a formality, and then nothing is really followed through besides wearing masks in public areas, which they can enforce that. They don't let you in, but pretty much everything else just, they just actually, as of the 2nd of July, said any international arrivals have to be fully vaccinated and quarantined for 3 weeks at their own expense. And
3, not 2, yeah.
3. I don't know the logic.
3.
I don't know the logic.
Wow.
I think it must be fear, or they're trying to bring in another way of making money, because it doesn't. I think the fear is probably coming from the Delta variant that they're afraid will enter the country, but I don't know where the 3 weeks is coming in, because I don't know. So, but in terms of like it seems that we can pick up in smaller amounts our Women's Hope program again, but I've just been very conscious because we're working with HIV and they already have a compromised immune system, that I just wouldn't want to be the one, especially like for our own staff member, but also encouraging other women to go out and about when really they shouldn't. But I think we're to the point where we will start something on a smaller scale, and they will literally come out to our property, which is not, and the program will be run out in the open, and we'll practice social distancing, and we just need to start something, because this is what a year and a half now of not being able to run a program, and it's just we just need to start living. It just So but we've been really actually blown away at, I guess, just seeing God's hand in along the whole way. Like when we haven't been able to do much here now, we've had so many other things fall into place, like the container arriving, and then we've been able to progress with building stuff which we weren't able to do before. We had we applied for a grant actually from Digicel Foundation here in PNG, and we actually got the grant, which is our first grant we've ever received, and that is going to help us to start the women's toilet block. Like we probably won't be able to complete it with the amount of funding that they gave, but we will be able to definitely get it underway. And so we've just been like, just those little things that we're like, okay, but even though we're not like doing a lot, that you can see there's a lot happening behind the scenes that helping us to get to a point, so that when we're ready, then we're ready, like we're going to be able to run our program and have the women here with no problems, and they're going to have a bathroom to use, now we just need a place for them to sleep. But that kind of thing. We've really, and then not only that, we've had so many contacts with helping place children into permanent families through adoption, which has just blown us away. Like our son is adopted, and because of the connection we have with the welfare department through his adoption, we're literally to that point where we can go down to welfare. And at one point they actually asked us, we had a baby that was given to us. We told the mother, you're going to need to go and sign the baby over so that we can make sure this baby gets into a loving, supportive family, and they need your signature to make that happen legally. So we took her down there, then she disappeared, or she left, and that was the end of that. But literally welfare asked us, can you mind this child until we can place it somewhere? And we had no problems, of course, doing that. No. So we did. And then we knew of a family that had put a letter of intention to adopt in, that hadn't had any contact. We also knew of a local family that was interested to adopt. So we helped them with their letter of intent to adopt. And we went back down to welfare and we said, look, here's 2 candidates, 2 families that are waiting for your response to have a room study done. You could potentially take this child. And then they looked at us and said, where do you want the baby to go? Who do you think should have the baby? I'm like,
Wow.
excuse me,
Wow.
isn't that your job?
Wow.
But that's the kind of
Trust
favor
that,
that
yeah.
and trust that we find that we've found ourselves in. So now we're really just
Yeah.
like with a system that's so dysfunctional, trying to make sure that we, as an organization, are also, sorry, sneezing. We are also like they don't have a proper process for what we are as community volunteers, but make a process. Please register us. Please make sure that we have child protection policies around us, and make sure that we are legally have a platform to stand on to be in the position to do this. If that's what you're giving, if you're releasing us to this, then you need to give us the permission and the approvals and So we've just been doing that at this time as well, gaining momentum with that establishing that relationship and getting that those legal documents in place. So yeah.
Yes. And from my experience in the islands, that's never a quick process either. It tends to take a little while. I have a question. I have a couple of questions here. Someone has asked, are there older or elderly women that are also affected by AIDS in the community, and how can they be helped if the answer is yes?
Yes, we actually we have a lady within our community here that she'd be middle-aged to elderly. I don't know how many years she's lived with HIV, but same sort of process for her, like the importance of encouraging her to stay on her treatment and supporting her that she can have a long, fulfilling life. But she doesn't have a lot of support from her family. So other ways, her husband died of HIV, and one or two of her children have also passed away of HIV. One time it was because somebody told them to go off their medications, and they did. They said, if you believe in God to heal you, you go off your treatment. They did, and his son died. So ways in which we support them. Elderly women can come into the program as well. We can by all means help support them to be able to take care of themselves. It doesn't have to just be young or pregnant women, or like it's any woman that's living with HIV that needs extra support, who has been rejected and ostracized because of HIV. Then we can, yes. So he's just saying, with this one lady, we were able to help support by building just a small 1-bedroom house, cook outside, they toilet outside. So it was really just a small room that was out of the weather, where she can feel safe, she can lock her door, a place to sleep. So we were able to do that for her through donations, through people who really invested and believed in what we're here to do, and we just were able to make it happen for her in that way. So and now we just carry on just checking in on her every now and then, bringing her over for a meal, sharing some fellowship with her, and just supporting in that way. We don't want to just keep giving food and giving. We have done that in the past, but we really just conscious that we want to help her to be able to sustain herself and to be independent and not be dependent on us. So that's really,
you want to give a hand out, a hand up, as opposed to just a hand down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, a hand up.
We start doing a handout, then we're gonna see a
beeline. Every dollar that's donated makes a difference in someone's life.
Yes.
Exactly. So, as I say, but they also make a difference to you. Sometimes people forget that folks like yourself that are running the programs and your staff, you have to live too. You have to eat. You have to, provide for your own family. So, as people give, they're not as they give to you as well, and by giving to you, that also gives to others. If you're not there, this doesn't happen. So when
doing this because of support,
people donate, yes. One other question, as we sort of wrap up. Someone is in your work at I Care for You, and if so, how do you deal with that?
We missed the beginning of the question.
Have you encountered any have threats in your work? Have you ever been threatened or encountered threats in your work? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Yes and no, being very careful, but it's pretty much inevitable in this kind of work, and also like just in doing mission work and ministry in Papua New Guinea in general. We've just been very conscious to working with a lot of women who maybe are in situations of domestic violence. So we, for instance, for our own staff, it took a while to actually have them to be able to be in a position to live out here with us because of we were invited into this community. We are building this community in another community which we are a part of, and also conscious of protecting them. So I don't know where I'm going with this question, but yes, we have encountered some situations that have been not unsafe, but we're aware that we want to help keep this a safe place. So we're treading very carefully. It's probably each time a circumstance comes up, we have to. It's a different circumstance to know how to move forward in it. I don't know if that helps answer the question, but it just comes with the position that we're in, that we're going to encounter that. We just do our best to not draw too much attention to where we are, and I don't know if that helped anymore. And because we're fairly new too, we haven't had a lot of women living on our property yet, so I'm sure we're going to be encountering more in the future, but just ask for wisdom and God's grace to help deal with those situations when they arise. You know, and we have our own family living here too, which we are very protective of, so we have to tread carefully and just help with that.
Yeah, so you said use wisdom and you know, always be checking with God. Okay, what next, and how do we do this? His protection, His grace is amazing.
Yes. Part of our agreement with the community that we're in here is that if anyone had direct issues with ICAFU or with us personally, that they are to address it with them. We're on Nazarene ground, Nazarene property.
Yes.
So we're like on a missions lease, like a 99-year mission lease, so that we can develop and use this how we need to. But for community, to be used for community development, which is exactly what we fit under. So any direct problems that people have around here with us have to go through them. But so far we've been here 4 years and people love us here. So we hadn't had problems with that yet. So yeah.
That is great. Oh, guys, it's been great talking to you, and I know we could probably keep doing this all night because you've got stories and people have got questions, but we've come to the end of our time. So thank you once again for joining us from up there, up the top, and where the weather's nice and warm and toasty. And we just pray God's provision as supernatural protection, and for just an outpouring of His Spirit in that place, for favor with the government and with the authorities, and that all the provision and everything that you need, there'll be more than you can. I actually pray that, and I'm actually going to step right out there and just prophesy over you guys that there will come a season where, just like David, where you'll say that's enough. We actually can't. We've got no more room. We can't fit any more in, and so I'm just believing for that for you guys. But you know what? That can happen when people in the community give and support, pray, send in, their finances, make a donation, and make a difference. So thank you guys for coming and for being with us. Say hi to your kids from me, and we look forward to catching up with you again sometime soon. We also pray that your entry back into Australia your entry visas come through and that you're able to come home and see family. And but until then, stay safe and keep up the great work. God bless you. Thank you heaps. Thank you everybody out there. This is Glenda Hare for 5 Q&A live from Brisbane for Create the Change Australia. Good night, everybody. Thank you,
Night.
Adrian.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thanks, guys.
G'day guys, Russell Wright here from Create the Change Australasia. Well, one of our great passions is better together, matching resources with needs. And so we love working with our partners over the last 20 years to make a difference to the people that we advocate for. And so a great example of that in 2020 was a kind businessman in Brisbane donated the funds required to purchase and ship a container from Australia to Papua New Guinea for I Care For You, Papua New Guinea. Now, that container was going to be just sent with donated goods, but then we decided to make it a dual purpose container so that when it arrived, it had another purpose, which was to either be a counselling room, an office, or a dwelling for someone to sleep in. So when the container left here, we were able to get volunteers to help fit it out with electrical power, circuit boards, air conditioning, lighting, and to be fitted out with cool room panels so that it's insulated. That container arrived in New Guinea and was able to fulfill the purpose that it set out to do. So rather than just being a container for donated goods, it became a purpose-built building. God bless you heaps, guys, as you give.